Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we have Vintage from Scholars Games, starting out with a Preordain that gets misstepped from Joe on Esper Thieves, a list that sounds like it has a lot of potential cards in the mix. We'll see what he has in here. Deathrite Shaman, a card. And any of you Legacy players that miss him, Vintage is a sandbox that he can absolutely play in. And James gonna jam a Sylvan Library. It's a green enchantment for 1 and a green, just not the Oath of Druids that you'd hope for. But Sylvan will allow him to dig quite a bit. Joe has a little bit of a clock here. Stony Silence in hand. James paying 8 here, keeping all of them. Looking to brute force his way through this. Like James is down to 10. 9, 8. They're going fast here. Jace the Mind Sculptor, Time Walk. And Dak. We could see a Time Walk, or a Dak into a Time Walk. If he has a red source in hand. I don't believe he does he? Oh, he needs the fetch. Too bad. That top of that library was Liquid Hot Magma, Jace the Mind Sculptor, and Dak Faden, and Time Walk. And it looks like he kept Jace on top. Probably would have at least kept the Time Walk on top, just to go through that whole dance again. Dig one deeper. Oh, and he did. Alright, so we'll see. I don't know if he paid the 4. I can't tell because of their life totals. Either he had another Jace in hand, or he kept Jace and Time Walk off of that library. I didn't see him keep an extra card. Stony Silence in hand, Time Walk, Jace, Sylvan Library on board. Time Walk is going to provide quite an effect in terms of changing James's hand. Black Lotus, typically welcome. Does have a bunch of mana here. James's list also has a bunch of castable creatures for Oath. They're kind of in the 6 mana range, a lot of them, so Lotus could push him into casting some of these creatures. Over the day I saw Rurik Thar. I think it was Archon of Valor's Reach. There's some weird ones. There's some that I actually would have to read if he played them against me. But it seems to work out fairly well for him. Time Walk. Of course, he does play Bristlebrand, but only 1 copy of it. Alright, so Brainstorm and Jace, Ancestral on top. Brainstorm from Jace, I should say. Time Walk is already resolved. And likely to just plow ahead with this Ancestral. He's considering something here. And there it is. I believe that's Archon of Valor's Reach. I'm going to have to look that up. Let's see if I can confirm this. Yeah, that's totally Archon of Valor's Reach. It has Flying, Vigilance, and Trample. It's a 5/6 for 4, a green, and a white. As it enters the battlefield, choose Artifact, Enchantment, Instant, Sorcery, or Planeswalker. Players can't cast spells of the chosen type, so it actually shuts off both sides. If you're playing against a workshop deck, shutting off your opponent's artifacts is certainly just absolutely bonkers. It definitely didn't name Ancestral, or didn't name Instant or Artifact. And Jace is being sacrificed to get rid of Deathrite Shaman. Snapcaster, end of turn. Not naming creature. And Deathrite comes right back down. And it looks like Deathrite's going to be able to activate to finish the job. So it looks like Joe taking down game one. They're not using the life totals here, but that appears to be what it is. So we'll see how this goes. We might have to adjust based off of new evidence. That is my current hypothesis here. Joe certainly be used to playing against Oath. As a creature-based deck, you have to have a solid plan versus the Oath matchup. It is a small but powerful percentage of the meta, typically fluctuating in between, say, 5 and 10% of the room on any given tournament. Paradoxical Outcome, more popular than that. The Xerox decks, Mentor, Young Pyromancer style decks that can kind of go wide, light mana bases, those are also a big player in Vintage, as are both Workshops and Dredge even. So there's a lot of different decks right now in Vintage. They're all very powerful. And Esper Thieves, kind of one of those, fringe strategies. And when you're playing Ancestral, Black Lotus, Time Walk, all of these powerful cards, there's an opportunity to have very powerful effects coming from unexpected places. So we'll see if Joe has any of those. Certainly Archon of Valor's Reach, not a card that I would be sleeving up intuitively, but it may work out really well in some matchups. Looks like Sylvan back in his hand. The wrong green enchantment, James. He really should be drawing Oath. That is the better strategy. If you're curious on how to play Oath of Druids, what you generally want to do is draw Oath of Druids, preferably with a Forbidden Orchard and a Mox. And then you can just cast that on the first turn, and then each upkeep, you get to just Oath up a giant creature from your deck, and that's usually good enough. James taking the hard way here. Looks like he's got Ancestral. See if Joe has a fistful of missteps like he did game one or not. Lotus, that's a great start. I'm going to go ahead and sack now for basic island. Four mana, first turn Jace. So Brainstorm from Jace. Mox, Ruby, and a go. Lotus also for Joe, but no response. No action on the first turn. Ancestral resolves. And now Jace. Brainstorm from Jace, or Jace Storm. Cleaning up any type of issues with the cards in hand. This is really out of control here. Notion Thief would have been a nice way of responding to that Ancestral. But we don't see that. And Ancient Grudge targeting this Lotus. Is this Lotus really going to get no value? Is it just gone? Containment Priest off of the Lotus and Snapcaster Mage. All right. So, Lotus was used in response to the Ancient Grudge. Containment Priest resolves. Snapcaster Mage. Force of Will on Containment Priest. So that was a rush sequence there from Joe. Containment Priest is going to get Force of Willed. And Snapcaster is going to resolve. Sylvan Library coming down here. So Ponder from James. Shuffles. Draw a random card. And Containment Priest comes back around here. Force of Will. Stops Containment Priest again. Jace down to just one loyalty. This time he's brainstorming. With Sylvan out, might have been worthwhile to continue fate sealing yourself. Tough to say. Losing Jace does feel pretty bad here. Oath of Druids. Losing Jace might be okay now. We'll see what Oath can dig up. Looks like it's going to resolve. 2 Containment Priests have been stopped. And there was a Fate Seal there from Jace. Apparently before that was just Sylvan Library, not Jace's Brainstorm effect. Swords to Plowshares gets rid of his own Snapcaster. And now it's a hunt for Forbidden Orchard. Preordain. We go top bottom. Fate Seal. And the problem of not having a creature on board here is now Jace becomes a legitimate win condition. So, you know, Joe's going to need to get some way of beating Oath before Jace ticks up to his ultimate. And if he finds an Orchard, then that'll also end the game. So this is a really bad spot here for Joe. I'm not entirely sure what he can do as he's getting Fate Sealed. It seems like getting a Mentor down plus Time Walk and then Snapcaster Time Walk, like some really powerful line would be necessary to get out of this situation. James keeping a fistful of cards there off of Sylvan, trading off 8 life. Still unable to find a Forbidden Orchard. Tapping to draw. Just keep making his land drops. Play another Oath just for lulls. And balance. Does balance matter? I feel like that was an interesting card to let him keep. Balance would kill whatever creatures get oathed up. But Joe just going to go ahead and shuffle anyways. And there he scoops it up before making the ultimate happen or oathing out creatures. So Joe may be losing out on some information, but trying to give himself enough time to win game 3 here. James is on Oath, and he can win in a pretty short amount of time, chipping away with Snapcasters. And Deathrite Shamans can take quite a while. Joe's going to know his deck certainly better than I would from this vantage point. So I'm going to give him full credit for scooping up early enough to give himself time in games 2 and for games 3 here, I should say. During the break here, they're taking their time shuffling. Scholars games will be closing on October 5th. So if you've ever wanted to make it down to what has been the home of New England Eternal Magic for almost 25 years now, this is the time. We're doing Wednesday night Legacies 7:30, Wednesday night Pauper at 5. There's a big Legacy tournament this upcoming weekend, the 22nd of September. If you're watching this in 2018, and hopefully we'll be able to give the store a great send-off. Joe's leading out with Tundra into Mox Pearl, and James, preordained, gets Flusterstormed here. So Joe trying to really curtail the amount of searching that James can do, kind of force him to have the goods in hand. Wasteland takes out that Tundra, but James does have some more where that came from. Tropical Island into Soul Ring. Interesting. Ponder finds another island, which is going to turn on that Gush in hand. Question is if those other cards are good enough to keep. I see a Forbidden Orchard and a Fetch Land. Oh no, not a Fetch Land. That was just the Ponder resolving. So he kept the island. And it looks like Dig Through Time as well. It's unclear to me why that is untapped. Tropical Island. And End Step Dig Through Time. So it looks like he's thinking about this one. I mean, Dig Through Time is an absolute blowout spell. See what it comes up with. Definitely an Oath. It is what the deck is trying to do. Joe's already committed a creature on board. Great to have a Time Walk to go with that Oath, but passing the turn, not the end of the world when you've got a bunch of counters. Preordain first. Oath of Druids comes down. What does Joe do about this? There's 1 mana floating off of that Soul Ring. James can hardcast Force. Gush in response from Joe. It looks like he does have Time Walk in hand. James gushing into more Force of Will. He'll force pitching Force. And now Time Walk happens. That is how it's done right there. Swords to Plowshares on his own. Deathrite Shaman. And then during the end step of Swords to Plowshares, looked like Joe tried to Swords there, and it was a little unclear when the phase was. James did have blue mana available. He's going to need to find Forbidden Orchard. But again, this is a good spot against Thieves for sure. Right back in the same spot as last time. Jace is going to be able to go up uncontested here on board and just be able to ultimate if Joe can't find a way to commit something. Strip Mine, not really going to help when you're this far behind. This Blazing Archon stop all opponents' attack steps. I mean, the way James' mana base is building here, he could potentially cast that himself. No red mana yet for Dak. More mana denial on Joe's side. Again, not going to help you when you're this far behind. Force of Will quickly jumps to the front of the hand. In front of the deck there due to Sylvan Library. And James really riding out Jace here. Grinding some serious card advantage. Wasteland, Strip Mine, and Wasteland, leaving James with 0 lands, but still in great shape. He's got Soul Ring, and he honestly doesn't need to cast any more spells for the rest of the game if he doesn't want to. He can win with Jace's ultimate. He can win off of Oath of Druids if Joe ever commits a creature to the board, or if he finds a Forbidden Orchard. I mean, this is still a terrible spot. And there's the Orchard. Decides to Brainstorm one more time. Commits the Forbidden Orchard. Is ready to make a creature during the end step. Now this will be interesting to see how James handles the upkeep. Got a Snapcaster. Brainstorm. That gets misstepped. Ponder. Joe gonna need some type of time walk shenanigans to work around these double Oath of Druids. So the way Oath of Druids works, it's a conditional trigger. So at the beginning of James's upkeep, it will trigger if he has less creatures than an opponent, and then each trigger, as it resolves, will check that condition. So Joe actually going for that time walk, he managed to get it, but James shuts it down with his Force of Will. Blazing Archon comes in. So James could have actually gotten 2 creatures there if he had used Forbidden Orchard. Very interesting choice not to do that. Not sure if he was aware of that line or not. But even after that trigger resolves, as the other trigger is on the stack, you can respond by giving more creatures. Oh, and it looks like they clarified the Spirit token. I guess there was a token during the end step, it just wasn't on the board. And Blazing Archon comes crashing in here. It's going to be over in short order. I actually don't know what that Sphinx is. It's some weird Sphinx that makes it so your spells can't be countered, I think. Quite a zoo here on James's side of the board. No longer oathing here, just going to battle with the army he has, trying to close this one out. And Joe has no alternative but to extend the hand as James takes it down. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.